Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play where things are going to get weird today because we know football's been really hard to start the season off. So it's time to hit the NBA streets. You can see this reserve sign in front of the basketball. Reserved no more because today we're doing an NBA best ball draft on Underdog. Which tournament it's going to be, you guys can decide. But let's get into it. Let's talk about some strategies. Let's talk about it all because NBA season is upon us right after this intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy basketball podcast for every game under the sun. Once again, I am Chris Spags, joined by you guys today in the chat, joined by my enthusiasm for basketball. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, hit the like button on this video. Of course, I got to play the GIF so you guys know bright flashing lights. Subscribe, like, comment. Subscribe, like, comment. I need it on this channel now more than ever with me and Pete doing less shows and obviously delving into a different sport entirely. It is going to be an uphill battle here, so support the little podcast that could, the little fantasy show that could here on Splash Play, and please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. Shout out to the chat as always here. We got Josh plays DFS. NBA's almost here, very excited for it. Gerardo excited to see some NBA. Did have a lot of requests from you guys out there to do some NBA best ball content to try to find the crossover between. I guess I should probably get rid of the flashing GIF at some point, would be logical. But actually, I will say, so you guys in the chat have asked before to do some NBA best ball content. I also had a direct request from our friends over at Underdog to do some NBA best ball content. Candidly, I think the enthusiasm for NBA best ball not quite as high for NFL best ball as we saw all season long drafting best ball teams on this show. The good news for you guys is that there actually is looking like there could be some overlay on Underdog. So use the promo code SPLASH right now. If you haven't deposited on there before, if you use that promo code SPLASH, they will match your deposit up to $100 on Underdog. You can play with that money right away. You can play in the small ball or the double dribble. That is the $5 tournament and $25 tournament respectively. 200K up top in the double dribble. I think 100K, I think, in the small ball. We'll find out right after this one. And then, and I will give you guys some credentials for me. So obviously I love football, study football as hard as anybody, work for Football Outsiders. You could see in my developing background here as I rebuild the studio after our flooding damage, which has been not a delight. Thankfully, gives me some opportunity to put some more stuff back here. Actually, I have a tidbit coming. If you guys have ever gotten targeted on Instagram for that one, that'll be in the background soon. But best ball, is a lot of fun. Obviously, we had a lot of good times doing that with the NFL. With NBA, though, this has always been my most profitable sport. I think I have the best brain for NBA out of all the sports. Again, I love fantasy football. I will play fantasy football until I die. But I do think the best success that you guys can have, that I can have, is going to be in the world of NBA because it's just more predictable. There's also a lot more mistakes people make, a lot more bad plays people make, a lot more bad assumptions people make. There's a lot more data as well for on-off stats that are going to be actually more prevalent because the sample sizes do accumulate. So when CJ McCollum gets traded, you know what Damian Lillard's going to do. When Damian Lillard's hurt, you know what Anthony Simons is going to do because there actually is court time where Anthony Simons has been doing things on the court without Lillard, without McCollum. That's an important part to keep in mind here. There's also some strategies that are going to port over from NFL. I think one of the things that jumps out to me, and it occurred to me a lot last year where I was really running hot with my best ball teams, was in really finishing strongly, it looked like. That ended up being that I had some guys going out because of tanking, because of injuries. I had some guys going out just because they didn't have as many games. So I actually did. Let me see if, you know what? Let me try to pull this up on the screen here. Because right before the show, I did in fact pull up the most important time here for week 17 in the NFL. We talk about that a lot. That's when you want to have the most guys going, when you want to have the highest upside, when you want to stack and all that stuff. For NBA, it's actually weeks 21 and 22 that are going to be the ones that have the most upside for you in terms of teams just playing a lot of games. So there are a handful of teams that are playing a lot. I have to enter the studio on this computer as well and share my Excel spreadsheet for you guys. But basically what my thesis is going to be for this year, and there's certainly, a lot of different viewpoints that we're going to have that might align with the NFL best ball world, might not align with the NFL best ball world. But let's share this present screen. Oh, that sounds terrifying. But let's present my screen. And here we go. All right. So for weeks 21 and 22, this is when the big money is going to be on either of the best ball tournaments on Underdog right now. You can see it in the rules, weeks 21 and 22. You can see here the guys that are green. These are the teams that have the most games. So Nikola Jokic on the thumbnail, a very important play. Bigs in this game, you only play one big for the most part, but you also can play a big in the flex, a center in the flex. So that's something where Nikola Jokic is probably the most valuable you can be. But also the fact that the Denver Nuggets have 8 games when you need the points the most to win the tournament. That means that the Nuggets are probably a team to target pretty heavily. The Heat, the Bucks, Giannis, another guy who's a big man who could actually be very important, who could certainly give you the performance, the floor during the season. But then when you need it the most, if you have Giannis playing 8 games and you have, let's say, Zach LaVine or Nikola Vucevic on the Bulls playing 5 games, it is going to be a pretty big discrepancy for you in the home stretch. So I would say, like we talked about a lot, again, with week 17 was all that mattered for us in NFL. Weeks 21 and 22 aren't all that matters, but if you can get guys here that are going to at least have those 7 games, give you a chance to get there. Certainly, I do think Jokic and Giannis always going to be a cheat code because they're so productive per minute. But for these weeks 21 and 22, the fact that they have 8 games compared to some teams having 5, some teams having 6, some teams having 7, it's going to be a pretty important thing, I think, to try to get Jokic. And if you get that first pick, this is not 0RB world. You don't pass up Nikola Jokic to take whatever other player you want. You take Jokic, you take Giannis, and you hope it works out that way. Eric asking, can I find the winning NBA basketball teams last year from Underdog? I don't know if they published them. It probably is on the Underdog blog, but I did the best I could to try to find something to bring to you guys today. So you can see also here's and that's just really the weeks. Is really I did a count if on all these games to see who has the most games during these important windows. For round 3, you could see weeks 19 through 20. It's going to be an advantage for the Warriors. It's going to be an advantage for the Thunder. The Thunder certainly a team that probably will be tanking by the time this this point of the season comes along, but still a situation where the Thunder playing more games. More games is more important because if you have a guy, let's say, getting 50 points and he plays 1 game that week, and you have a guy getting 40 points, but he plays 3 games that week, who's more important to you? Who's going to make your lineup? It's the guy that plays more games and is also productive, even if he's not as productive overall on a per game basis. And then weeks 17 and 18, which is going to be the ones where you advance on into the latter rounds, an advantage for the Bulls, a little bit of really just an advantage for the Bulls. A lot of teams here at 6. The Bulls have 7 games. So, that's certainly a spot where you could take a Bull and not feel bad about it, but know that you really do want to have, again, weeks 21 through 22. You want to have these Heat. You want to have these Bucks. You want to have these Nuggets, not just because of the players themselves, but because of the fact that more games means more fantasy points, assuming that guys play all the games, which can always be a risk profile, of course, in the NBA. Josh wants to tank for Wembanyama. That is going to be a name that you hear about a lot this year. He has already been a monster. He looks like my NBA 2K mind player. Big guy, could shoot some threes, could block some shots, could get some boards. He is the one that the Jazz have completely strip mined their team for. He is the one that the Thunder, now with Chet Holmgren not being available this year thanks to a foot injury, he's the guy that's probably going to be very important to them as well. So certainly a spot where Wembanyama is going to be the name you hear over and over again. Everybody's tanking for him. There's a number 2 guy as well, who I think, I'm forgetting name offhand, Scott something, is also pretty highly graded as well by the draft nicks out there. But ultimately, keeping in mind tanking teams that are not going to be playing, very importantly or playing very hard down the stretch. Like you could see here, the Utah Jazz. The Jazz having not a lot of games and being a likely tank team probably means you don't want to play a lot of Jazz guys. I think there's opportunity always in these garbage teams, but it is something where, this week 21, week 22, that's going to be when you win the money. So that's something that I'm going to be fixated on a lot when I'm doing my drafting this year. And let me stop sharing the screen here. So other core tenets of basketball, one thing to keep in mind, and for NBA, I do build my own projections. I use the minutes from Stochastic. Get a lot of my fantasy stuff due to my time at Stochastic. I do leverage their data as best I can. Minutes projections are the best thing you can do for basketball generally for playing DFS. For a season-long league, you kind of just have to assume that the guys are going to, start to meaningfully get minutes when they're playing well. There's also situations, too, where last year, a mistake I made a lot was taking Christian Wood and Alperen Sengun, 2 of the Rocket centers last year. But it was still a team last year that Sengun was the guy that ended up being the one you wanted because Christian Wood was hurt down the stretch. He didn't play as much down the stretch. Sengun didn't play a lot in the beginning, was productive per minute. It was really just one Wood injury or one Wood trade away from being important. You want to make the same bets you would in fantasy football and best ball for NFL, where you want to make your bet that you're right. So if I'm drafting Sengun last year, I should have just drafted Sengun and not drafted Wood and tried to duplicate the efforts. But it is important, too, that what was this? Jazz have 8 games in the finals, too. The Jazz had 5. Again, this count if was just like right before the show. So I don't think, unless the windows are different, at least according to what the NBA has, it's weeks 21 and 22. It says that the Jazz have 5 games. So might be different there. But yeah, I think Eric might be counting this differently. For what it's worth, I am using the poll from NBA.com, which NBA.com does actually have the weeks of numbers laid out. Like I guess like they're trying to do an NFL thing for that. But yeah, it is weeks 21 through 22. The other things I'm going to share here. Also, they changed some of the verbiage on StreamYard, which is a little bit confusing. Let me share these futures odds as well. So NBA futures odds, again, another thing we talked about, another thing I've beaten in the drum of a little bit with the startup I'm working on, Probably, where it's all games of probabilities and ultimately using the sharpest market data you can is going to tell you that's reflection of what to expect in a situation, whether it be a 50% chance of Tom Brady throwing for 300 yards, whether it be the Celtics here having the highest probability right now to win the NBA Finals. Clearly, the Celtics were a highly graded team according to the top markets out there last year. This year, again, same thing with some additions as well. Guys like Malcolm Brogdon looking good. Golden State plus 630. They're number 2 overall. The Clippers, maybe a surprising number 3 according to this Vegas Insider consensus. Bucks, Nets. Where's Denver at? Denver a little bit lower. Denver may be an interesting bet to make overall relative to your futures odds, but maybe a little bit lower probability for them to be a title contender according to the markets right now. Down at the bottom here, I'm just going to scroll through. Obviously, you can look up the futures odds yourselves, but just an important metric to keep in mind. Teams that are not likely to be in contention for anything. The Spurs, another team tanking for Wembanyama. The Rockets, also another team that's just tanking in general. Probably not going to be that good. The Jazz, the Pacers, the Thunder, always tanking. The Magic seem like they might try this year, so they might be a team you could target a little bit more. But overall, the teams that are obviously going to be longer odds to win the title means that they're scoring less, means that they're winning less, means that they're probably not guys that you want to target heavily. But you could take one piece of it. You could take an SGA and hope that they don't pull them down the home stretch of the season like they do every year. You could take Tyrese Halliburton, who's probably going to be on the upswing again this year. That we'll see, I guess, if they have some more shooters in the mix. Some of the rookies as well could take some possessions away. The Jazz are an absolute dumpster fire where I don't know why they still have Mike Conley right now, but he's playing for them and playing in the preseason. And they also have Sexton and Clarkson coming off the bench right now, according to at least their preseason rotation. So another team that, garbage teams people sometimes overlook. There can be value there. But when they're crowded garbage teams that aren't playing guys a lot of minutes, I think I would be more inclined to take a Magic than I would a Jazz, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to hop into Underdog right now. And you guys could tell me, actually, if you guys in the chat have any preference, if you want to draft alongside me. I would prefer to do the $25 tournament, but if it's not going to fill, I would prefer to do double dribble. But if you guys want to do a small ball with me for a $5 entry, we can do that as well. Again, use that promo code SPLASH to double your deposit on there up to $100. Eric, I'm just telling you, man, it's NBA.com has weeks 21 through 22. I need to check out the dates more for Underdog, but I did pull it exactly. They say it's NBA week 21 to 22 on Underdog. On NBA.com, it's week 21 to 22. So we perhaps both should double check what we're doing to make sure about that one. Either way, nobody's given any chat entries here. Small ball, double dribble. If you guys have a preference, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to wait and hope this double dribble fills fast because it has been a little bit of a lethargic fill rate for me so far when I have tried to enter these tournaments. I've only put in one entry in the double dribble. I think one in small ball so far. All right, no preference. Cool. There, Corbin Welsh here. Corbin Welsh here, diving into the world of NBA best ball from the UK. Can't wait to see him. Okay. I mean, look, Eric, you might be right. Honestly, I just did this before the show real fast, and I could do the same count if for any dates. But I presume that if Underdog is calling week 21 and 22, and then NBA.com has things listed as week 21 to 22, that's a branding choice that both made, but we'll find out. Looks like this one filled very fast. Okay, Eric, relax, man. Chill out. Eric, one of the regulars, very enthusiastic about the dates of these games. And to be clear, though, this doesn't make the Jazz a good play. If anything, it makes it a lot harder for you to figure out who the Jazz are going to have out there. Probably Markkanen, probably Sexton, but, at that point of the season, could easily be a Butler situation at point guard, which you saw last year. Jared Butler could also be anybody. So, with tanking teams, there's still a risk profile. So, even if the Jazz do have 8 games in that window, and I will double check after we get off here, but I would say that overall, just be aware of the tanking teams and be aware of the fact that they are the ones that are playing guys not as many minutes as you would like to see overall. I'm in the number 2 hole, so unfortunately, we do lose out on Jokic. Jokic is really the one play I would say if you can get him any time out, I would try to do it. No issue taking Giannis here, though. Bigs, it's kind of the opposite of running backs in NBA best ball, where you do want Joel Embiid. You want to have this linchpin player that you can count on time and time again, who can give you that upside. So I actually might man, it's tough with Harden. I'm going to take Giannis here. Giannis would be more appealing as a big, but basically my ideal construction, it's only 16 rounds in NBA best ball. I would say the 6-6-4 is the construction I like the most. 6 wings, 6 guards, 4 bigs would be most appealing to me. I think people's idea, because of the onesie positions in best ball, where you only want to take, for the most part, 2 tight ends, you only want to take 2 QBs for the most part, though I know Stochastic, Alex Baker, of course, the great Osmo over at Stochastic, did talk about taking 3 QBs. You probably still don't want to do that for the most part, and that's certainly, your mileage may vary there. For the bigs, though, because they have such big upside and because they also can play in the flex for you, I think you want to take more than you would in NFL for the onesie position. So 4 bigs feels about right to me. But I do think that a 6-6-4 is probably the most logical, and you can maybe do a 7-7-3 if you want. And then you're asking a lot for those bigs to get in there. Oh, sorry, Corbin. Spags, heard you will be on the Stochastic show this week. Yes, I'll be returning to the On the Contrary, which is one of those things now. I've been gone long enough, and also even when I was back at Stochastic a couple years ago, like Lofty had taken over On the Contrary. On the Contrary was my baby. That was my idea that I had brought to the table. First season there was me, Alex, and Evan Silva. Then Evan Silva went on to establish the run and all that great stuff. But definitely a spot with On the Contrary that's near and dear to my heart. So I'll be doing it with Neil over there. Neil Orfield, of course, multi-time millionaire maker winner. And I think it's Savoca on that one too. Would be nice if I got to do a show with Alex, but I think it's Savoca and Neil over there. So I'll have a good time doing it with those guys right after Splash Play on Friday. So you can come spend 2 hours with me talking football on Friday if you wish. Subscribe, like and comment, guys. I also meant to just change the background, but I'll keep clicking the flashing neon lights whenever I can. I do think, by the way, I'm just going to point out right now, I think Towns is going to be greatly overvalued this year. Not because of him being a little bit injured to start the year with, I think he has an upper respiratory infection that has him on bed rest. This guy cannot catch a break with anything. But having Rudy Gobert there, Towns playing the 4, I just don't think Towns is going to be the same player this year. So that's a player for me that I would have no issue fading overall. Would rather take a shot at Zion, even though I think Zion's going to run into a little bit of a usage hump with having McCollum in tow right now, having Ingram, certainly, I think, continuing to play well. The Pelicans, to me, are a team that are going to be good to win, but Zion, game after game, night after night, I have some questions about the upside just because there's only one ball to go around. And I think that's something worth talking about too with NBA in particular. The way that I build my projections is ultimately, so teams for the most part, night after night, will give you the same amount of points, same amount of rebounds, same amount of assists. Then you grade that out relative to the Vegas total that's coming out that night. So you could say like, oh, Vegas has the Thunder today scoring 105 points. Normally they score 100. How does that other 5 points come about? You can just distribute that 5 points and how many rebounds and assists go with that normally and distribute it to the rest of the guys who are going to be playing. So with NBA, there's a lot of ways that's the core of what I do for my projections that I've had the most success with, is just the assumption that these numbers are going to be the same every night. So who fills in and does it? Sometimes that could fuck you up. Like if you have a tanking team that's been maybe trying a little bit harder, like the Thunder a couple of years ago where they had Al Horford playing, they had some guys who actually were good playing. Then they went down. I should go to the big screen for this one. Then, like when they have no good players left, they're probably not going to put up the same 100 points. That said, it's going to be within, the realm of expectations. It's in the, relatively going to be close. So it's still something that you want to try to have that as your core of the projections. And then be mindful of the fact that, if the Jazz are down Mitchell, if the Jazz are down Gobert, if the Jazz are down every player who's good, Jordan Clarkson might score 40 points, but he's not exactly going to be as good as the projections have it out. But that's the way I do things. I only track usage rate, assist rate, rebound rate, and I distribute everything according to those things for all these guys. Shout out to our boy Eric in the chat. Yeah, Eric, NBA best ball is tough, man. So Eric, if you want to hop in here, please feel free. Again, like good shot at overlay, as we all know from in general, that I would say that the overlay is always going to be the best thing you can do in DFS for yourself. Anytime that there's going to be more money in the pool than the people are putting in is going to be a positive. Because we took Giannis here, because Sabonis is a guy on the upswing, I like this spot a lot here. Again, we want to get a quality big. It is not like the QB position. It's not like the tight end position where you're probably sacrificing some EV by taking a superstar too early. For this spot with the NBA, I do think you want to get that big and feel really safe about the production you're going to get there. Let me make the screen a little bigger too. Do I feel like guard is cheaper than wing this year? I think they're equally deep. Like, I think it's ultimately because you are taking, 6, 7 guys, you're just really trying to target the upside for those guys. So, like, you want to get your floor players in. Like, if I took Giannis here, obviously Giannis is going to be playing for you more often than not. That said, if Giannis goes down, like, I do want to have some contingencies available, guys that can occasionally beat him out. So from my perspective, like, I don't really feel like there is one that's much deeper than the other, especially with how Underdog files these guys away. I don't think you're missing out on a lot no matter what way you go. These other bigs, Gobert doesn't appeal to me because of the Towns thing we talked about, so I don't want to take him as a big. Kawhi coming back, I mean, he's going to play. We just saw the Clippers are going to be a team that should be deeply in contention. I am going to take Kawhi here. It feels like maybe I could push Kawhi further. I also generally feel like guards are going to have more upside for the most part as well. Wing production, like, I don't mind taking a Miles Bridges type of guy, but there's a lot of wings out there that are going to give you like 0.75 to 0.9 fantasy points per minute and not be that great. Whereas a guard could certainly, have that upside, have the ability to add in more assists, have the ability to take on more scoring if one of the other guys is out. They have the ball in their hands more for the most part, especially a point guard. So I would err, for safety, you take your wings higher, and if you want to take some more flyers at guard, but that's me. Like, I think I'm willing to take like a Jalen Green or somebody like that and hope they start to add assists to their repertoire. I think there's a little more flexibility at guard, whereas wings, like, you want to have guys who are getting rebounds, or, if they could do a Giannis and score and also get rebounds and assists, great. But with guards, there's a little more ability to do a little bit of everything. Oh, did I say Miles? I meant Mikhail. Sorry. Miles is, I think, not playing this year. Miles was in position to be one of the top players this year in terms of earning money and getting to a new spot. And instead, Miles Bridges, I believe, is not likely to be on a team at all. So, not Mikhail is the one I was thinking about. My apologies. Is stacking important for NBA? Stacking, I would actually err away from because of what we talked about, where there's only one ball to go around. If you have a 30% usage guy, that means he's taking 30% of the possessions and ending them with a shot, or I guess theoretically it could be a turnover as well. But overall, that guy's killing 30% of the possessions. So I don't think you want to have that situation. You could do it like stacking the Nets could be appealing because you do only have a few guys there who are really going to be getting the ball materially game after game. So like, then if Kevin Durant goes out, you have Kyrie coming in and he's going to be probably, a 1.3 fantasy point per minute player as opposed to a 1.1 or whatever numbers you want to give him. So that's something where I think you could stack with the superstars, knowing that the superstars don't play back-to-backs or that they go out a lot. But overall, like, I wouldn't take 5 players from a team because it does sort of hedge against then what we were talking about of, like, drafting like you're right. If you're not drafting like you're right, then you are, like, you're probably making a mistake overall. DeJounte Murray was one of the guys last year who had the biggest upside for me. And I put DeJounte Murray with Derek White, and it ended up being that Derek White got traded away. But ultimately, Derek White and DeJounte Murray did kind of pull from each other. And, there were points too where they were playing these guys together and it capped Murray's upside. Then when they got rid of White, we saw Murray be like a triple-double machine. This year for Murray, playing alongside Trae Young, I don't have that same amount of faith. But I think, if you're taking DeJounte Murray this year as a Hawk, you're probably taking him and not taking Trae Young because the assumption is that Murray reaches his apex by Young not being out there and being hurt or whatever. That's the only way that Trae Young's not going to be out there, is being hurt for the most part. But in other situations too, where a guy maybe gets in the coach's doghouse and doesn't play, you do want that guy to kind of come upwardly. Our boy Eric saying stacking is way more effective now because of rest days. I'll have a ton of Kawhi people. You cannot help yourself with Kawhi and Paul George. Eric, of course, famously melted down once when Paul George got ruled out, thanks to having a little bit of a coffee owie, drank too much caffeine, couldn't play a game for the Clippers after Eric stumped for him on a stochastic stream for a while. It's possible, I think if you're assuming the rest days portion of things, then you can do that. But it is also possible the Clippers rest both guys. Like, I wouldn't make that assumption because they certainly have done in the past where you play Kawhi and Paul George and John Wall this year too, who is going to suck a little bit of production away. I'm assuming he's still in good condition, still, hopefully in good mental health after he apparently had some tough times. But I think, you're making an assumption there. So I think you're kind of making a two-way parlay bet if you do draft Kawhi and Paul George together, just because you're saying that, oh, these guys are playing separate on the back-to-back. And I don't know that's necessarily the case. Eric saying, I think other Eric, lots of Erics. Good Eric chat today. I think stacking can be effective in terms of contingent bets on second tier guys on a team in case superstar is out. That is fair. It depends on the ADP. Like, it depends what the price tag you're paying for those guys because you are then waiting for an injury to come. In basketball, certainly with rest days, with injuries, like, it is a lot like every position is kind of like the NFL with running backs. But I think it's definitely your mileage is going to vary. And I think it's all subject to different teams. So I wouldn't give a hard and fast rule for this. But certainly, like I talked about with the Sengun Wood thing, like if you're getting Sengun at at a 190 ADP and you're getting Wood at like a 50 ADP, Sengun is inherently leverage on Wood. So like I would take Sengun a lot just because like if Wood goes out, if Wood, they decide Wood's too good and they want to tank harder, then they would probably go to Sengun. And that's a very direct leverage as well. Shout out to our guy, Lunchable Connoisseur, as well, always in the chat. All the regulars here joining me today on this NBA journey. I appreciate it. And again, use that promo code SPLASH if you haven't deposited Underdog yet. Please get in there. So we didn't get Zion. I do think Darius Garland is going overdrafted because Donovan Mitchell is going to fucking ruin this team in terms of how it worked last year. So this spot for me, CJ McCollum will be my anchor guard in this spot. Love CJ McCollum. Thought he did a really good job in the stretch down the home stretch last year. Also thought in Portland, he was basically Damian Lillard when Lillard didn't play. So if Ingram goes out, Zion's not healthy and both guys could still get there. But I think the fact that we didn't take Zion, the fact that we're not likely to take Ingram means that in this spot, I think that taking McCollum makes a lot of sense. I've been tracking ADP shifts since the tournament opened. No, honestly, I haven't had the bandwidth to dig in here. I'm doing this the stream because I wanted to draft more basketball teams, but also just because frankly, they were like, hey, we need to do some basketball streams out there. So please do one. So that's where I am with it. Wouldn't mind taking Ayton here, though. Ayton has a lot of bad juju around him right now. Do not want Russ. Don't want Russ in any situation. Banchero, intriguing, but I think he's not going to be as good when there's a lot of guys going for the ball. I'm taking Porzingis here. I want another big who's got regular upside for me. I think I can find guard value later on. And Porzingis, I thought, showed enough in Washington where, Beal being back in and healthy is probably not going to be great for him. But in terms of a, contingent big rather, who could get me into the flex sometimes and also be valuable if Sabonis somehow went out, I like Porzingis in the spot. Wood did sign with the Mavs. He's actually going to be one of their 6 men this year, but I'm talking about last year with Wood and Sengun because that was the one that was a play. I think I did like 20 entries last year in best ball overall for NBA. I think that was the play that stuck out to me the most. And it was the same thing with NFL where I talked about this year. Part of the reason I went 0 RB was all my best teams last year in NFL had Alexander Madison instead of Dalvin Cook. And that was something that was like across the board. My only teams that advanced anything had Madison in it. For NBA this year, the lesson that I really took away was 1, I didn't have enough DeJounte Murray down the stretch because he wasn't playing enough games. And 2, that I shouldn't have been taking Wood and Sengun together because one of those guys will probably produce if they're both in there for a game. But ultimately the best win is when Wood gets hurt, when Wood is out, and then Sengun comes in. So I'm talking about it through the prism of last year, but yes, Wood is in fact a Mav now. Mathology, hearing a lot of low T plays talking about load management. Of course, Mathology, the expert on load management here. And nobody is better at, well, actually, I guess nobody's worse at managing their loads than NBA players, for being honest. We're looking purely at the metrics of just children floating around. Sean Kemp alone has driven up the average a little bit too high for load management. But yeah, I think that NBA players certainly willing to spread that around and have a good time. And honestly, if you've ever lived in a big city, decent chance you're an Eskimo bro with an NBA player, as we've talked about. I've talked about in content probably too much over the course of the years. I always still hear about when I was in the early days of Osmo when we were doing streams and things were a little bit fast and loose. I told one anecdote about Kelly Olynyk, who is now on the Jazz. If you want to update your scorecards accordingly, if you want to see Charles Barkley be confused about what team he's playing on, it is in fact the Jazz. But Kelly Olynyk once hooked up with a girl I know through the grapevine, and she told one of her female friends, who was somebody I was seeing, that when Kelly Olynyk hooked up with her, he made her bleed so violently that she had to go to a hospital to get stitches. And Kelly Olynyk, in his infinite wisdom, was like, yeah, just you want a towel? That was it. So that's my Kelly Olynyk story, and I'm sure there's a lot more of them out there that I don't know. But anyway, told that on Osmo content many years ago. And it's one of those things that our pal Rin Pack brings up a good amount because a very memorable story and one that can certainly tell you why Kelly Olynyk has enough confidence to shoot every time he fucking touches the ball when he's come into a game in the last few years. Blake Griffin does Blake Griffin Blake Griffin has the one girl, isn't he like Eskimo bros with Matt Leinart, and then they both have kids? I forget that story there. Blake Griffin now also a Celtic, so kudos to him. Kelly Olynyk PSM off the charts. Yeah. I mean, look, Could tell you that was that girl's, like, sometimes you'll run into people in life and you could tell, like, oh, this is like their story. Like, this is the story that, like, couldn't be anything but true because they're so dedicated to telling you it and so, like, die hard about wanting you to know it. Same thing too with this guy. This is a story I also told in content once, but I'll tell it here too. The Manning bros once allegedly jerked off on this guy's girlfriend because they were both married, both Eli and Peyton, after, I think it was after the ESPYs when it was in New York. And this guy was like the son of a famous TV producer. And he like brought this girl to the ESPYs, was like trying to big dog it, show like, yeah, like I have the hookup to get to the ESPYs. Ends up being a thing where they end up sitting next to the Mannings. I think might have actually gone there together in a limo with the Mannings. She ends up ditching him for the Mannings, and the Mannings jerk off on her. So again, inform your process accordingly. Oh, Blake. Oh, I thought they just said the kid looked like Lana Rhoades, but I did see that too. I think that was a Barstool post about Lana Rhoades' child looking apparently a lot like Blake Griffin. Lana Rhoades, not one of my staples, but so we're already debating, revealing the various athlete stories I know, revealing the porn stars I don't jerk off to. Yeah, we're killing it here on this stream. All right, let's see. We got our build right now. We got a 1-2-2. Certainly need some more guards, but I think we can find them in a lot of spots. All right. I don't like Russell very much, but he does feel kind of undervalued here, especially because we're not taking Towns and not taking, yeah. And it's possible Russell gets traded too and ends up somewhere a little more profitable. So I'm going to take D'Angelo Russell here. About to start cranking purple. Yeah, we're hitting that purple drink hard here now. Got to get some guards in. I do like this base though. Like I like a Giannis, Kawhi, Sabonis, Porzingis. Getting European, which is always a positive. But big men have just produced a lot, and I think Porzingis showed enough to me in Washington last year. Like, he immediately made Kuzma the fucking beta cuck of that team, but like he also showed a little more assist upside, showed the willingness like to do more now that he finally has the ball in his hands after not having it in Dallas. So I like both these guys. In Sacramento too, like a team that I would not mind taking a piece of Sacramento pretty much in every lineup just because I think they're going to be on the upswing. Made some nice moves. I like the Aaron Fox. The rookie's also pretty good that they have, whose name escapes me right now because I'm just still not in basketball mindset fully. Keegan Murray. But yeah. Jordan Poole feels like a nice contingent pick here. Could justify going Michael Porter as well. I do think Jabari Smith is an interesting rookie, but probably not going to be the most productive in terms of the usage, rebounds, and stuff. So I'm going to take Jordan Poole. And if Steph goes down, if Clay goes down, then Jordan Poole should be there. Oh, Eric. We got to confirm. Honestly, though, I do feel like that is one thing I would recommend Underdog. Again, if they're having me do these streams, I got to be honest about it. They really should spell it out a little more clearly in their rules. Like, I don't even think they have the actual scoring that they use for NBA basketball in their rules. Like, spelling out the dates a little more defined on the actual rules page would be helpful. And also just having the branding right. If NBA is calling something week 21, I don't think Underdog should be calling it a different week. Because again, NBA.com had it as week 21 and week 22, but whatever. I'm also worth pointing out, which isn't likely to happen, but if the NBA does have some sort of shutdown or whatever, the NBA does, I think, or Underdog rather, with the NBA schedule, cuts round 1 short, doesn't cut rounds 2, 3, or 4 short, or change the timing on it. So that was one of the rules I did see today. Damn, I need to chill on the bell peppers then, LOL. Not trying to mismanage a load and end up with a kid. Yeah, boy, be careful of those loads, guys, because fucking having kids is tough. They give you COVID. They fucking keep you up all night. I am the official overnight duty man in our relationship to keep things running and taking care of Luca overnight. And again, another thing, if you want credibility for me in NBA, not only have I won tens of thousands of dollars, I mean, literally my best run was $75K in the span of 3 weeks, and I will always hold that as my one credibility ranking thing. But I named my child Luka after Luka Doncic. So if you can't trust me on basketball, who the fuck can you trust? Though honestly, nobody's doing NBA basketball streams out there, so I don't even know who you would trust as an alternative. I saw like some channel that I've never heard of doing it. Besides that, nobody else out there. So the official home of NBA basketball right here on Splash Play. Even got like a little 8-bit basketball on the thumbnail for you guys to keep our aesthetic right here. Christian Wood. And Christian Wood is fucking he must be an awful human being because I love Christian Wood. Played him a lot in DFS over the course of the years. Like he had really lit a candle for him for a while because he kept moving from team to team. Nobody would find him a home, but he was always a great fantasy producer. And now he's on another team again. Left Detroit, probably should have stayed in Detroit, given that the crowd really loved him. The team seemed to like him, didn't want to pay him as much money as Houston. But now he's going to the Mavs and like was already posting like fucking shit posts on Twitter about him being the sixth man and like kind of a cantankerous dude. And it bums me out because like basketball is the sport where you can really like small sample size stuff in NFL can be tough. Like if you go, oh, this guy ran 10 routes a game and he was getting targeted 50% of the time he's running a route. That usually doesn't pan out over the course of an entire season or the course of even an entire game and getting an increase in what they're doing. Whereas in basketball, if a guy's a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy and he gets run and there isn't another starter there who's like, taking a lot of the usage away, taking a lot of the rebounds and assists away, that guy's going to be a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy again. Like the Pacers showed that pretty well last year. Guys like Terry Taylor, Isaiah Jackson. So that's something with basketball to keep in mind. Like small sample size, like I'm okay with the small sample size stuff where it's like Damian Lillard's off the court and McCollum's played 10 minutes, but he's got a 75% usage rate. That's where you can watch it out. But like a guy just being productive, like guys are productive and guys continue to be productive as long as they get court time. And minutes are gold too. Don't forget that. Minutes are absolute gold. Jonathan Taylor has been ruled out. Oh no. What about my Naheem Hines shares that I have so many of? Oh no. Fucking tough year to be a running back, Stan. I will say, man. Taylor going out. Oof. Tyler Algier coming in. Naheem Hines. Things are looking good in NFL best ball. Wish I had more Hawkinson, though. Do you wish that? Let's go Hines bags. Our boy Steven Leibovitz missed hoops so much. I will say, man, like basketball, it is a grind for DFS. Like it is tough because you really do have to like keep going back to the well night after night and then also updating throughout the night. Like that shit sucks. That was the worst during COVID is that you have to like late swap your ass off in NBA, even more than NFL. But NBA is so much fun, man. And it is like, there is, I think, still a little bit of an edge in NBA if you are willing to grind it out, if you're willing to go night after night and, pay for Stochastic, get the minutes projections or their player projections or do what I do and pull from Basketball Reference and do all that stuff. It's all great. Scrubby saying running back pigs in shambles. Oh yeah. The running back pigs right now. Oh no, Jonathan Taylor got hurt. What am I going to do? I bet my children's tuition on Jonathan Taylor because I was just coughing up running backs. I don't want a victory lap at injury, but if you're going to victory lap at injury, nobody more of a running back pig than him. Wouldn't mind taking another big here. Still need some purple, though. A lot of purple on the board. But I think I'm going to get my purple on the way back and take the perpetually disappointing Jaren Jackson, who's now getting paid like a monster. Oh, I think Eric might have bounced to our pal Eric Lindquist, but boy, anything he can relate to, Josh. That is the tale of Eric Lindquist's life. Oh, sorry, Gerardo. JT Kamara, DJ Moore starts. No, going to be a tough one to dig out of. But who knows? What if they're the guys who need to come week 17? If you can get to week 17 with all the running back injuries and poor play. All right. I don't love Marcus Smart because of Brogdon being in the mix. Brogdon coming off the bench so far for Boston. I do like Simons. Simons is really good. And if Lillard goes down, he's going to be competing with Jeremy Grant now. Jordan Clarkson, also kind of interesting. I will go Simons, though. I'm going to take the young guy who's been good to me last year, good to me in DFS. Simons it is. All right, so we got a 4-2-3, as you can see, because I did use the draft capital early on the wings, that I'm not going to go as heavy on wing right now. I'll take some flyers on wing. I do want to point out Detroit's a weird team, and I'm saying this because I play a lot of NBA 2K. They think that Jalen Duren's going to be starting for the Pistons, and I don't know that that's actually the case because, like, I think they still have Isaiah Stewart, right? They still have Isaiah Stewart. I don't know. And then, like, you have Ivy coming in. He's going to take some touches away from Cade Cunningham. I think the Pistons have a few too many guys right now. And there's like too many young guys as well, where like I would want Cade Cunningham to be killing, half my possessions if I could, because that's the kind of player he is. Having Ivy in, like, I think Cade's going to have a tough second year. Like, he's obviously, like, Cade's the star. Cade's the guy who's like a top pick, so he's going to get burned. But like, ultimately, A lot of guys now could justify taking shots. Sadiq Bey still could justify taking shots. I think the Pistons to me are a team that I don't really love very much. John Wall is a Clipper. Yeah, John Wall. I hope John Wall does well this year because like he really got kind of dicked around by that whole Houston situation. Certainly got dicked around in Washington as well. I think John Wall deserves some upside, but still, it's going to be tough for him to get shots. Like Reggie Jackson's still there. Like they still have guys that obviously Kawhi and Paul George. Zubac certainly a guy that can be the recipient of some assists, but I think John Wall probably the best spot to win a championship that he's ever been in. But I think fantasy wise, like he's going to be more the spike upside guy rather than the every game upside guy. Especially because like Paul George has learned to like pass the ball and stuff recently. I also might do 2 drafts in a row, guys. So if you see that we're in round 9 here out of 16 and you're like, I got enough. I got the gist of it. Hang out because I'm going to probably hit one more here and happy to do a small ball as well if that'll make you guys happy. As you can see, I got some money to burn here. And I've not had as much time in the Battle Royale streets. So Battle Royale is apparently working really well. I saw our guy, Paul, I was inverted, I think won $20K in Battle Royale. So again, use that promo code SPLASH, double your deposit to $100 and play some NBA best ball, play some Battle Royales. Like definitely going to be an edge here in an NBA in particular, like where they're going to probably have to put extra money in because the tournament won't fill. I think it's definitely worth getting some entries in if you've been reluctant to do so yet. Josh wishes the St. Louis GOAT Bradley Beal would have left the Wizards, but they paid him too well. Beal is the ultimate, just give me that money guy. Happy to get paid, happy to have the gig, happy to keep moving it forward. I like Beal as a player. I think too, he's really benefited from having teams that had nobody else now. Like now they have Monty Morris, now they have Will Barton, now they have Porzingis, now they have Kuzma. It'll be a better team as a result, but Beal's not going to be the same upside guy. Beal might be, I don't know what his ADP is. Let's look real fast. Beal might be like an outright fade for me just because of the fact that like he's being drafted like he's still one of those stars. Yeah, like 30 is pretty much he's being drafted like he's one of those superstars. And I don't think he's a guy that really benefited from just like being able to have the ball in every possession. Even last year, like even when Ish Smith would play, like Beal wasn't quite as good because he wasn't having the assist upside. He can still give you 50 like real life points on a given night, but night after night, I don't think so. Consigliere is saying, I can't listen right now, but Spags, can you explain why I love that Consigliere is coming in, just asking chats without being able to listen. But I would say that, so bigs to me, I don't think 3 is structurally optimal. I think you want to give yourself a shot to get 2 of them into the flex, into the regular position and the flex as well. Because bigs have upsides of 50 to 70. Guards, like the guards and wings that you're going to get late in a draft, like they probably don't have that upside. So like you could take a rookie big, you could take like whatever, as long as the ADPs are reasonable. I think 4 bigs is the move, even though it's a onesie position. Like you're going to have 2 guys who are sitting on your bench week after week. But ultimately, like you want to give yourself a chance to get that guy in, obviously as the big position, but also get the guy in with a high upside in the flex. And then knowing that centers break slates every single day in NBA DFS, like I think it's a 4 big build. As I talked about, like I think it's a 6-6-4. I think you could do a 7-6-3 or whatever, but I really think you want to have a little more bigs here. And I think people too that are going to treat it exactly the same as tight end and QB, I think that's a mistake. Like I would not draft just 2 bigs. I think that's like a big mistake. One goes down, then you have no chance to get the other big into the flex. Like that's tough. I don't think that's the right move. Good. Somebody agreed. Josh agrees with me. Good. Yeah. Beal, some guys are usage guys. Some guys are, find a way to produce time after time. I think he's a usage guy. Aaron Gordon with Porter and Murray back seems not great. Harrison Barnes, also not great. Dylan Brooks loves to shoot. Dylan Brooks very much loves to shoot. You know what? Yeah, let's do Dylan Brooks. Oh, no. No, Aaron Gordon. Oh, well, wouldn't be a best ball draft if I didn't time out one. Honestly, I needed a wing anyway, so fine. Maybe Gordon soaks up all that vacated Will Barton production. Probably not. Aaron Gordon is one of those guys like I thought was going to be good in Denver, and he just fucking sucks. He does nothing. He's gone down to like, I forget what his numbers finished at last year, but like under 1 fantasy point per minute pretty easily. Grant Williams is no Rob Williams will get more time later in the draft. I wouldn't mind Grant Williams, but he's not a great point per minute guy. And Horford is apparently going to play back-to-backs this year. So like Horford would be, I think, kind of appealing, though I presume he's already gone, right? Yeah, Horford a 103 ADP. I would give the bigger bump to Horford personally. But there's like, again, a lot of mouths to feed. Like a lot of these really good teams did make some meaningful additions for themselves. Duarte or Mathurin or Jared Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt playing in Utah, probably going to play all year, probably going to be a guy who gets a lot of minutes at center. Larry Marketed's such a bad rebounder. Cam Johnson also going to be starting this year. This is an interesting spot. I am going to take Vanderbilt here. Take the youth. And hope that he just gets a little more usage because he was not getting any shots up in Minnesota last year. Turn autopilot off, please. All right, we got 5 more picks for me left. We got a 4-4-3. So I would like to take 2 more guards, 2 more wings, 1 more big. Don't have to take the 1 more big, but it'd be nice, I think, to get 1 more big. Steven, they were saying like Horford himself said that he wants to play back-to-back this year and like train specifically for that to that end. I would agree. You probably want to give him less minutes, but Horford's got enough stroke to kind of do what he wants to do, I think. And especially with another young coach with Missoula coming in for them after Ime Udoka was did some weirdos. So I would say that Horford, you could take Grant Williams if you want. He's just not like. He's not my preferred choice, honestly. And you can make the case too, like the Celtics should probably play really small sometimes and maybe go like Tatum at center and just see how that goes, just because they have like good guards. And like, do you really want to sit one of Smart, White, and Brogdon if those guys are playing well as one of, obviously you're not going to sit Brown or Tatum. But I would say like the Celtics to me are a team that probably should play even smaller. I don't think they will, but maybe. It's a young coach, so maybe I'll do something creative. Spurs are probably a little bit undervalued just because of the fact that they have so much vacated production left. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think Primo's a pretty nice pick at guard. This is part of it too, like why I do think you can wait at guard. Like Monty Morris, if Beal goes out, or even if Beal's in, Monty Morris is probably going to have pretty good assist upside game to game. Certainly can score a little bit more if you do have a Beal or a Kuzma or a Porzingis out. But I think, again, this is kind of making the case here. Like Mathurin for the Pacers too is a guy that, like, according to his college stats, pretty good usage, does assist a little bit, does rebound a little bit. Mathurin's a guy too, like taking some of these rookies, and it's something I need to actually pull into a spreadsheet somewhere. But some of these guys like produced pretty well in college or are now in spots they can produce well now. I think I'd prefer Mathurin to Duarte just because of the mystery box, but Duarte was also pretty solid last year. And obviously, if you want anybody from the Pacers, like Halliburton's your guy. Halliburton is the one that's going to be the engine that runs everything. It's tough to get a feel for these teams. A lot of movement this year, which I think is an advantage, especially for DFS. But a lot of movement for these guys, and a lot of young guys too are going to be in probably more prominent roles than they should be. All right, we're over 45 minutes in here, guys. So I think it's time. It's time to hit the subscribe, like, and comment, please. If you're watching this stream, hang out here. Of course, fantasy football is always going to be Splash Plays focus, but honestly, I'd like because we never fucking created a basketball product at the Football Outsiders parent company, decent chance you'll see some more NBA content from me on here. So please, and don't unsubscribe because we're doing NBA either. Like, just fucking ignore the video if you hate basketball that much. But if you want to take the ride with me, like again, I really do love basketball. I miss being on the West Coast because I used to just watch basketball, like watch every game until the end, and go back and forth on League Pass. The East Coast just makes that fucking impossible. But basketball is great. I would take basketball over baseball in terms of our fantasy stuff 100 times out of 100, personally. And again, I'm going to hit another draft after this one, so hang on with me if you can. And if not, I get it. I get it, guys. Yeah, just watch people draft best ball teams all day. I haven't done any best ball resurrections for NFL, and that feels like a mistake. I did the one on stream with Trey Lance. So that's the one best ball resurrection I did. But another way to spend money on underdog, again, like, I think NBA best ball going to overlay best ball resurrection. I don't know about that. But definitely you want to get some entries in on those things. Give yourself a shot. Bojan Bogdanovic in Detroit, kind of interesting. Because both Ivy and Cunningham are likely to pass him the ball a good amount. And he could certainly end up somewhere else. Patrick Williams, also one of those guys that feels like he's been on the cusp of making a jump for years. Got Barton at guard. I don't need another guard right now, I think. This is not a great group. I'm going to take Bojan. Because, like, theoretically, the way that Bojan makes this lineup is if he is scoring like a monster. And he doesn't have to make the lineup because I have Giannis and Kawhi, and then I have a little bit of a floor with Gordon and Vanderbilt. So I think Bojan's a perfectly fine pick. It worries me a little bit, though, that he's one of those guys that they just put on ice and then, like, he ends up waiting for a buyout at the end of the year. But then maybe he gets one in the middle of the year and then becomes part of a contender, because I think he's been complaining for a new contract. And this is your Bojan Bogdanovic update. Not to be confused with your Bogdan Bogdanovic update, which is completely different. Happy as a clam. Actually, he's probably fucking miserable too, because he's going to be playing behind DeJounte Murray now. But no Herter. Herter, another guy in Sacramento, actually. Kind of interesting. I don't know where he's going. Herter's still available. I actually might take Herter. What's his ADP? ADP of 156. Oh, the fucking Logan, you took Herter? Of all the guys, Logan, unbelievable. All right. You know what? Let's get weird and let's target Julius Randle being hurt. Because if Julius Randle is hurt, Obi Toppin's going to come in and get some burn. And he basically has been Julius Randle. Well, at least the shitty version of Julius Randle we saw last year. Maybe could have waited a little bit longer on wing, but I think Obi Toppin's got the ability to be like a guy that could be useful. And I don't know that Randle is long for New York. Like, even people were saying, like, if they were going to get Mitchell, like, oh, they'll trade Randle right away. I don't think there's a market to trade Randle, but Randle is one of those guys that, like, clearly doesn't seem to want to be there anymore. Like, last year was fucking ugly for him in the Knicks. He did not have the same magic behind him as he did the year before. So you could see, like, again, took the wings early, then, maybe could have waited one more round to start spamming wings. But it's, similar concepts to NFL, similar things that, when you're weak at one position or when you spend the draft capital pretty highly on one position as well, then you'd want to wait longer to get it going. So you can make the case I probably should have taken another guard before I took started taking the wings. But like if Giannis doesn't play every game, then I'm fucked anyway. See, are any of these teams particularly interesting is what I wonder. Logan got Jokic, which is good. I don't like Mitchell because I think Mitchell and Garland are going to suck away from each other. Nice. Mobley as well, if he's a bit of a playmaker. Like, I hate the Mitchell trade for Cleveland so much. Like, it might make him a better team because having another scorer, having another ball handler is a positive. Mitchell is such a black hole, and he's going to take away, like, the ability for Mobley to become Giannis. Like, I don't think he was going to become Giannis, but he's a guy that could pass the ball. He's a guy that could do some stuff. Same thing with Garland, who was, like, fantastic last year when there wasn't a Rubio or a Sexton out there. Like, Mitchell is just going to ruin it all. And I just, like, I like when Mitchell does the big ball shit and he's like, oh, I'm hitting big shots. I hate Mitchell when he's just, like, ruining an offense and making it like this slog. Taylor Horton-Tucker, a nice pick too. Guys that can produce in every category, certainly something I would err on the side of taking more of as well. So, like, Horton-Tucker, like, not a great shooter, but he's going to get usage. He's going to get rebounds. He can get assists. Maybe less so, if you have Conley out there, less so if you have, I guess really just Conley, Clarkson to a certain Clarkson doesn't pass the ball. Like, Horton-Tucker can do a lot, I think, in that offense for the Jazz. So he's the kind of guy that at this point probably a very good value, though. I think he should be a wing and not a guard. If he were a wing, he would look pretty good. Feels like Tari Eason should not be going ahead of Taylor Horton-Tucker, to be honest. Tari Eason. I'm actually going to look up what's Tari Eason's stats. One thing I like to do as well for basketball, for the rookies in particular, just go and search their name in Sports Reference. So Tari Eason, um, LSU, her 40. Tari Eason in college had a 10% assist rate, it's 15% rebound rate, and the usage, where's his usage? 32% usage. So Tari Eason might go get some buckets. It's going to be hard to get him, though, with old Jalen Green there. Spags, you going to push out on any NBA props during the season? If I do, it will likely be through Probly, and I will promote that here too. Go check out problyapp.com, PROBLY app.com. That is going to be one of the homes of my content coming forward. Thank you, Josh. Josh knows the plug. But probably basically what we're doing is taking the top international sportsbook data out there to determine the true probability of every event, and then calculate your best sportsbook opportunities, as well as just like how a game flow is going to go off of that. So I'm going to be doing more content for that coming up soon, but we're waiting to figure out some stuff with hiring a UX agency to get our design right. Tim Hardaway Jr. Yuck. Honestly, Jalen Williams, OKC, kind of appealing. Can Seth Curry be good in a Brooklyn Nets offense? I think he can. Fultz is hurt again. Fractured toe. You still have Cole Anthony there. I don't love that. But yeah, I think, but to Mathology's point, with what we're doing there, the goal is going to be to determine the true probabilities and then grade it out against both legal sports books as well as like, the underdog API of the higher, lower, whatever they're doing legally. So yeah, that's what we're going to be trying to do with that. But the timeline of getting it out, I'm not clear about, because we've been building as hard as we can, but it's hard when you have full-time jobs. Oh, TJ Warren. Good point. TJ Warren isn't a Brooklyn Net. Still hurt, though. Like, I don't get how that's the case. Like, he's been out for almost 2 years. TJ Warren, yeah, definitely could be playing at some point. Who's this Jalen Williams character on OKC? Let me look up Jalen Williams stats briefly while I'm on the clock. Jalen Williams, 25% usage, decent assist rate, not a great rebound rate, but probably going to get minutes, likely to get minutes, let's say. And I do need another guard. I should just take Fultz, right? Fultz has actually been pretty good. He's just always hurt. I'll take Fultz. Oh, my old pal, Stochastic producer Jordan Klein, who's doing great work over on their channel. Please go check it out. Of course, because I need to give the Stochastic channel the bump here on Splash Play with tens and tens of people watching. Malik Beasley is going to shoot, but like, you got to remember that Sexton's going to shoot, Clarkson's going to shoot, Lowry Markkanen's going to shoot. All these guys are dying for their chance to shoot. So Beasley, I don't think a bad pick by any stretch, but one of those guys that feels like he shouldn't even be on the Jazz. Like, he should be traded to the Knicks or something coming up soon. Somebody who needs like wing depth and shooting. Oh, there you go. See, I have friends, guys. I miss Jordan and I had one of my favorite hangs before I left LA. Finally hung out with him and Eric Lindquist and my pal Leslie as well, who was formerly at Stochastic. And we had a lovely time. And Jordan's apartment's one of the nicest in Marina Del Rey. I'll tell you that much. We got one more pick left here. Again, 16-round drafts in NBA. Then we'll hit one more draft, because why not? Why not? I still think like Jared Butler to me is like a nice late round flyer. Like he was good on paper last year. He just wasn't actually good. Brent asked me about Stochastic's business, saying, why don't you guys create an optimizer with your rankings and offer it cheaper than Cruncher? Figured Stochastic would have done this right now instead of pumping Fancy Cruncher's bags. I think they're very happy with the partnership and also know that it takes a lot to build that. I think the ETR guys are building an optimizer called the Solver, or at least that's affiliated with them in some way. But it's tough. Like, I know from my time at Stochastic, obviously I'm not there anymore, so I don't know what they're talking about, behind the scenes right now. But I would say that it's just like very difficult to do that and to build one of those and to have it work the way you want. And those guys as pro players, like who actually are spending tens of thousands of dollars any given night, like they want to make sure that people are using the thing that they use and have the most comfort with. So they could churn out a product and it probably wouldn't be as good as Fantasy Cruncher, I think was the logic, at least when I was there. But I agree. There's like probably an optimizer gap somewhere out there. It's just tough. Like I know, Justin with Run the Sims has like his optimizer too. And like, there's a lot of these optimizers out there. And it's hard to do it better than Fantasy Cruncher, like for real. And then you got to spend so much money to build that tech to do it. I don't think it's like if you're a business, it's probably not plus EV to build an optimizer. Honestly, probably more profitable to build like a parlay optimizer kind of thing, which I think Stochastic has done actually. And I know that Roto Grinders has as well. All right, we got one more pick in this draft, and we'll hit one more. And I would like this to be a big, if possible. Oh, Jalen Duren is here. Might be Jalen Duren for me if he lasts. Poor Miles Bridges. I say poor Miles Bridges, even though he seems like objectively a terrible human being. His case has been extended. Domestic violence and child abuse continued until October 7th. His future in the NBA is uncertain. Oh, the Hornets did give him a qualifying offer, but yeah, nobody's going to one up that one, I guess. Unless he's clear. I play so much Miles Bridges, or I did play so much Miles Bridges in DFS because he does a little bit of everything. And whenever there's a Hornet out, man, it's just like it's a tough game. Schroeder. Ugh. Will Chris Boucher actually play this year? That's the big question. Or will Nick Nurse just jerk him around like he does every year? Grant Williams would be, to Steven's earlier point, I think Grant Williams would be more appealing as a big here than as a wing. Oh, Bridges is a full free agent. Okay, interesting. Is that can't be the case? They're not that dumb there. Like maybe Mikal Bridges goes there. I don't think Miles would. All right, Jalen Duren or Chris Boucher? Chris Boucher we know is in the rotation. Jalen Duren is a guy they wasted draft capital or spent draft capital on. Plumlee's now got a rookie breathing down his neck. I'm not sure about that for Charlotte. I think it's Jalen Duren. Wow, really? That's insane. Don't draft Miles Bridges, guys. Like, at least right now. Like, that's one where it's not like an Alvin Kamara suspension. Like, oh, he could be fine. Yeah, no, I don't think that's a wise move. All right, so my final team here: McCollum, D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Poole, Anthony Simon, Seth Curry, Markelle Fultz. No big dogs at guard, but still enough guys that can spike an upside, hopefully by shooting. Let me refresh to make sure I got this right. Oh, is it still not? Okay. No, this is actually my first double dribble. Fuck. At wing, I got Giannis, Kawhi, Aaron Gordon, Jared Vanderbilt, Bojan Bogdanovic, Obi Toppin. Definitely falls off a little bit there, but these guys all can certainly make a lineup week to week. Domantas Sabonis, Kristaps Porzingis, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jalen Duren. I like the four bigs here. Don't know that I needed it with these three, but I still feel pretty good about it. All right, one more, guys. What's the choice? Small ball, double dribble. Who cares? Anybody? If anybody has a thought here and wants to play with me and you don't have the money to do 25, I'll do the 5, but I would prefer to do the 25 just because I'd like to get some entries in and have a shot to win 50K. Would be nice. Small ball? All right. If Eric wants small ball, Eric, this is my olive branch to you. We'll do small ball. Oh, Corbin. Sorry, Corbin. Eric said it first. Corbin wants to get my EV in a higher dollar tournament. I know Corbin all too well. When's the stochastic marketing campaign for Lucas College Fund get Spags to 10K subs? Yeah, I agree. Get me to 10K subs. Honestly, though, like really the big ask, and this is why too, like obviously I'm plugging stuff as we go as I can. Obviously, Football Outsiders, still the day job there. Still got, subscribe to this channel. Go check me out on the contrary on Friday, whatever. The big ask is going to be when probably selling memberships. Like, please throw us your $10 a month, your $50 a month. $50 a month, though, like you will get more bang for your buck from our $50 a month than you will anything else out there. Like that much I am confident in you. I probably shouldn't even reveal our pricing. We're going to undercut everybody in the fucking industry with our prices is the goal and give you the best live data that can make money off of sportsbook inefficiencies. So that'll be the ask. So yeah, keep your pocketbooks ready, ladies and gentlemen, when that comes. But honestly, at this point, it's probably looking like a January 1st, like public launch. But if you get on the wait list, you'll get free content from me and you'll get access to the beta when we have it. But I'm hiring people literally in Latin America to build us an app because that's what one of our advisors suggested, who's raised a lot of money and runs one of the biggest sports betting companies in Brazil, greenrun.com. If you want to go bet in Brazil, that's one of our advisors there. My old pal Nate Dion from Barstool. It's time to get Galaxy Brain, huh? We'll see. I just like, the issue with me is like, I never get too Galaxy Brain with this stuff. I just like drafting the guys that I like. Like, I like drafting the guys that I think are good basketball players. I like drafting the guys that are really high usage. Interesting question from Eric. They bet on everything, actually. So like Green Run is affiliated with the site called Esportudo. And again, I know this because Nate's our advisor. But like Esportudo is like the Barstool of Brazil, where it's like, a sports blog, but like personality driven stuff. And like they love American sports too. They do like NFL content, they do NBA content. So Brazil, like certainly soccer is going to be there. There also are like Brazilian soccer leagues and stuff too. Actually, I can tell you right now, as I say, Brazilian basketball league, excuse me. Let me pull up our production server for Probably. This is the part for me that I love what we're doing. I'll wait till I make this pick, but I will show you guys literally the top probability bets in Brazil right now for Brazilian basketball, just for the lulz. Not to be confused with the lulz. All right, we got Tatum, we got Durant, we got Towns that we don't like that much. Tatum is going to get pulled a little bit away, I think, by Brown being on the upswing, Brogdon in the mix. Is Durant going to have a season from hell, or is he going to try? You know what? I'm going to go LaMelo. Fuck it. I know I do think guard's deeper than wing, but LaMelo to me, 70 fantasy point upside. No Bridges probably does help him out a little bit, so we'll see. Corbin saying Miles Bridges ADP 77.1 on DraftKings. McHale 104. Man, that feels like giving money away. I don't see how you can't have a DV charge, a domestic violence charge, and get back in. I don't think in the current NBA. I don't think Bridges plays this year. I think he plays next year. I don't think he's banned forever. But I don't think he plays this year. All right, let me show you guys Probably's our production server for Probably right now. Again, it's not as beautiful as it's going to be, but I will show you guys it because I think this is interesting. So right now, we go to basketball. Oh, hopefully it's working. We actually had some glitches last night. All right, so you can see here in Campeonato Paulista, we have São Paulo FC. Apparently, CA Paulistano SP, a 60% probability to beat out Sao Paulo. Who would have guessed that in Brazilian basketball? Oh, Sao Paulo, though, 58% chance they're going to cover a 5-point spread. So go make your Brazilian basketball lineups based off this knowledge. And it seems very unlikely that Sao Paulo will, in fact, win this game. So there you go. There's your Brazil basketball update, guys, that you all were asking for. People come to this channel. They're like, yeah, please, I want American basketball, and I also want Brazilian basketball news. And now you got it. Now you got it. All right. Back to the big board here. Player props the next space. Yeah, that's like the API we have to pull in next, or the collection of APIs we have to pull in next. But we will have player props soon on Probably. And that's the one I'm most excited for because I think that's the most fun parlor trick. Like knowing like the Bills, I think, well, you might have seen some of the articles this week. The Bills, I think, are the first 14-point favorite in the NFL since like the merger, I think was the article I saw. But also like in terms of just their money line probability, like the markets think they have an 80% chance to win outright. So like stuff like that I think is fun. But I think the most fun is like knowing like, oh, like, Josh Allen has a 70% chance to throw for 300 yards. Cause like, that's something that like you might not know from a regular prop market, but there are alternate lines for all these props as well. So that's what I'm hoping like the non just direct conversional sportsbook utility is probably just telling you like, hey, here's where like the smartest bettors in the world think that, Josh Allen's going to perform today. All right. Sabonis again? No. You know what? I went big heavy. Let's see what we could do by going guard heavy up front this time. So there will be my Galaxy Brain. I do think taking bigs early is the move just because they have the highest upside. And even if they are a onesie position, still can get into the flex pretty easily. But I like Booker. LaMelo and Booker feels like a nice guard base after we went pretty narrow on it last last draft. Went to Brazil once when you were like 10, had a great time. Brazil always seems scary to me because there's like a lot of kidnappings and stuff. Not that, like a lot of the countries, a lot of the impoverished South American, Latin American countries, Central American countries going to be sometimes reflective of that. But that always freaked me out is like you can get into a cab in Brazil and it's like, oh, cool, I'm abducted. Like that's not, but apparently very doing well. Like again, that Green Run company is crushing it. So you definitely, your mileage may vary. I don't think Joel Embiid to be the number one overall pick, by the way. I missed that initially from Flash Ma here. Flash Ma. Yeah. It's got to be Jokic as the number one overall pick. Even with Murray coming back, even with Porter coming back, it's got to be Jokic. If this guy takes Harden or took Harden, I think then especially you don't take Joel Embiid, but we'll see. Harden, I don't think should be a first rounder, to be honest. Oh, okay. Yeah, having family in Brazil probably helps. You have to have locals. I think my understanding is you have to have locals who know what they're doing. Because if you go in as just like a fucking American mark, you might have some bad times. Don't go flashing your what's the money in Brazil? Don't go flashing your maracas around. Don't go flashing your pan de queso around in Brazil because you will find yourself in some tight situations. God, I love Brazilian steakhouses, though. I'll tell you what. Probably one of those things that doesn't even exist in Brazil. It's just like an American thing where they're like, yeah, of course, Brazilians always eat fucking delicious medium rare meat off of swords. You stupid American. But boy, do I love a good Brazilian steakhouse. And pan de queso, delightful. Cheese bread. Bread with cheese, in fact. All right. Oh, come on. Don't take Jaylen Brown. Don't take Jaylen Brown. Don't take Jaylen Brown. Bam, honestly, is a pretty nice value pick as a big. Of course, he took Jaylen Brown. I think Bam is a better pick here than Rudy Gobert. Just because the Heat didn't really add anybody meaningful. And, if you see Butler go down, you see Lowry just continue to kind of get old and washed. Hero signed the big deal, but he's not fucking passing the ball. Bam Adebayo is one of those guys that can get you triple doubles if like the situation aligned right. So if I'm going to skip on big early, I think Bam has a higher upside game to game than Gobert. Gobert like a nice floor play as a big. I will say that. But I have some real questions about how Minnesota's going to work. Oh, really? I have not tracked the preseason that closely other than the first day. I'd be curious to see him shoot some threes. Like if he can hit them, that would be a nice dimension for him. Cause like if he could get out on threes and like, and actually have guys need to guard him out there, he can actually slash to the rim and like create for himself or for others. So would take some onus off of Jimmy Butler too. And honestly fits the Heat's thesis where they're willing to let Duncan Robinson shoot 12 threes a game. Like I think that Bam being able to shoot capably, if he has the confidence to do it in games, I think would be a pretty nice addition to his repertoire. Would be a nice addition to any big's repertoire. That's why when I play NBA 2K, again, my big can shoot that three, baby. He's we're popping up 23s a game in my player. But not in the city. In the city, if you're big, don't fucking shoot threes. Just bang. Grab some boards, play some defense. Make some plays. Be more Nikola Jokic if you're playing in the My City in NBA 2K. That's what I did last night, in fact, because Overwatch 2 crashed violently and wouldn't let anybody play. And I was excited. I played a couple rounds and then it was dead on the water. Could not play any more Overwatch 2. Literally couldn't play it because it just wouldn't load. Which is a great example because Overwatch 2 is like spending so much money marketing to like casual gamers and whatever. And it's like, yeah, if I go on a game and I'm playing it for the first time and I literally can't get on, I'm probably never going to try that game again. Josh Giddey being a fourth rounder. I saw him play once in the Lakers and was cheering for him like a little girl. We were courtside right before I moved last year. And I was just like, Josh Giddey. like if my son Luca is like Josh Giddey out there, oh boy, I'll be delighted. Like it'd be nice if he's like a six shooter. It'd be nice if he's like fucking a pure athlete who can dunk and whatever. But Josh Giddey just doing a little bit of everything, creating assists, creating rebounds, being able to score a little, being unafraid to shoot, even if he probably shouldn't be shooting that often yet. Josh Giddey is a nice little player. Am I just gonna go fucking full heavy on guard? I still don't believe in Garland. Chris Paul's getting old. Van Vliet's gonna have some more competition for the ball. Fuck. Oh, I'm taking CJ McCollum again. This is terrible usage of draft capital, guys. But I ended up in some bad pockets. And honestly, I don't have the situational awareness of these drafts yet. As the porn bots come in, thank God. You know, you worry that the porn bots only care about football. It's just nice to see them show up for an NBA stream. Yeah, I think I might take Paolo Banchero if he comes back to me, just to give myself some upside at wing. Wish Giddey had fallen. And Middleton's a fine pick too, because Middleton, you always get that Giannis boost if he ends up missing a game. Honestly, given that I took Giannis, like if we want to do the full like hedge of my portfolio, took Giannis last draft, it would be logical to take Middleton here, but I don't know if he's going to fall. He might fall because he's hurt right now. The Middleton Giannis thing though is not as perfect as it was last year though. Or as it was like previous years, excuse me. Last year, it wasn't quite as like the moneymaker. When like in previous years, whenever Giannis went out, Middleton would just be a monster. Wasn't quite the case. Could take Keldon Johnson if we want to get weird with the Spurs, a team that needs somebody to do anything. Keldon Johnson. Yeah, I'll take Middleton over him. But that is the kind of opportunity, like Keldon Johnson, a team that vacated a lot of touches, vacated a lot of scoring, a lot of assists, a lot of rebounds. Keldon Johnson will probably be better just through the sheer inertia of that. Whether he's the best Spurs player, I don't know. It's like probably Trey Jones, honestly, is somebody that I would say is probably worth getting out of your way to get. Because it's not like there's no Derek White, there's no DeJounte Murray. Trey Jones has been okay. Like, I think he's not the most talented guard overall, certainly not the best size on him. But he likely will get the first chance, I think, to be a starter for them. Primo would be the one that like Primo could be like a fantasy point per minute guy if they just give him the runway. If they give him like the Hamidou Diallo runway, just do whatever the fuck you want out there, just go get some buckets, do the best you can, don't screw up. I just don't know if Pop is going to do that with anybody ever. Trey Jones, at least he does trust a little bit. All right, so our start, LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo, CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton. I should not take another guard for a while. Halliburton being a second-round pick is kind of crazy. I don't think Halliburton should go over Booker. If we're looking at that. Halliburton, though, in the same round as Booker, Lillard, Trae Young, and Shea, like that's lofty for Halliburton. I like Halliburton, but he definitely demurs a lot to other guys. So like if Benedict Mathurin comes in and wants to shoot, if Duarte wants to come in and shoot, Buddy Hield, if he doesn't get traded, you definitely could see Halliburton letting those guys get their run a little bit more. But the minutes will be there for Halliburton, and he's productive when he's on the floor. He's only going to get better. I just don't think he should go ahead of Booker or Fox or Cunningham, honestly. I also think Colin Sexton shouldn't. He should be drafted. He shouldn't be drafted this soon. I don't think. All right, we took Jordan Poole last draft. Get healthy, Clay. Stay healthy. Get healthy and stay healthy, Klay Thompson, is what we're going to hope for. I don't know if the Warriors, I don't know if they have it in them to repeat this year. I don't know if that's a hot take. Like, certainly one of the top odds getters, as we saw, to win the title. Feels tough. Feels like they got kind of lucky last year. It was just like the teams weren't at full strength. They ran into Boston instead of, like a full health Milwaukee, a full health Heat, the full health Sixers. And I'm not trying to shit on Golden State because I do like them. Like, I like them a lot. Like, I think they're fun. I think Jordan Poole is actually pretty good. But like, it really kind of feels like they're a team that can get eliminated in the first round this year, and it wouldn't shock me. Like, if the threes aren't falling and if they were getting good wing defense against them, I think Clay is a risky pick here, but he's worth it just because it's either him or Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Kuzma not doing it for me. Though he was good last year. I'm also pounding water in general because I know this is gonna be telling for my age. My 20-year high school reunion coming up, though I did graduate when I was 17, so now even more telling of my age. But that's coming up on Saturday, and Daddy's got to fit into his suit and feel good about it. So we're doing the full no eat seat. No, not full no eat seats, but being careful of the calorie count. So if you're noticing this jawline looking sleek, you didn't notice. No, nobody notices. even Alex, my wife, does not notice. But I know. Great suit too. Got a great suit for the event. All right, we got a 3-2-1. Pirtle is kind of interesting because he can get some assists. There's definitely some usage to go around here. Let's get some Spurs. I don't love Clint Capella. I don't think they want him long term. Did they draft another center? Oh yeah, they signed Kaminsky. That's it. But yeah, like a Okongwu to me, a Okongwu at 185 or Capella at 75. I think a Okongwu is an infinitely better pick. Even last year, Capella wasn't really like, they were definitely using him less. And they're also now paying Collins enough where like you probably should play him more at the 5 as well. Anyway, this is basketball, guys. Welcome to the wonderful world of basketball. Bienvenidos, as we say. No sexier round in an NBA basketball draft than when you see names like Jakob Poeltl, Clint Capella, Mikal Bridges coming off. That's how you know things are really getting juicy here in round 7. It's honestly so funny though, because like football feels like it's a lot deeper in terms of like in the 7th round, you're taking like star QBs, you're still taking your Drake Londons, your young upstart players. And then in basketball, it's like, oof, D'Angelo Russell, nobody fucking wants him. Jordan Poole, he's okay, like, but probably a little undervalued in people's heads. Yusuf Nurkic, who is good, but you know, probably gonna be a little bit less good with Jeremy Grant being there now. Not Franz Wagner, Devin Vassell at the back half of the 7th. Not quite as much. The NBA might have more superstars overall, but in terms of a best ball draft, the 7th round of an NBA draft it's not compared to the 7th round of an NFL draft. Keegan Murray in the 8th. People love Keegan Murray. Am I missing something with Keegan Murray? Sports Reference Keegan Murray. I feel like he's like an okay shooter, but not like doesn't rebound that much. At least didn't in college. Yeah, 15% rebound rate, 10% assist rate, 30% usage, 64% true shooting. That's actually pretty crazy for Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray's going to make some buckets. Anybody who's over a 60% true shooting, love those guys. Jordan Poole, that was actually part of why I was so heavy on Jordan Poole, because he had over 60% true shooting the year before last. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you're that good. But that's a metric too to keep in mind there. Like that I've observed over the course of time, no hard and fast rules here that I'm giving you, but like guys that are, 25% to 30% usage, guys that have 60% true shooting, those are the guys that really can be superstars given the opportunity. All right, we got a 3-2-2. Lauri Markkanen is going to play a lot of minutes. Anunoby is probably going to lose some minutes to Barnes just being better. Big jump in projection, though. Jesus. Lauri just doesn't rebound. I'm going to take Anunoby. Anunoby's one of those guys in DFS I always have a hard time playing just because, not a fantastic per minute guy. Seems like he's better generally when there is somebody out of the games, but I gotta rectify that blind spot. Markkanen, though, God, it's hard. Like Markkanen versus Anunoby is a pretty big jump in projection, but like Markkanen's probably got to play like 30 minutes a game, 35, 30 to 35, depending on how it's running. And he's starting already in the preseason. I don't know that that was the right choice to take Anunoby over him, to be honest. But we do it. Hayward probably a little bit undervalued because of no Miles Bridges. I don't think Hayward's going to come back to me, but if he does, I might take him. Yeah, basketball season, by the way, guys, fucking 12 days away, I think, as of today. So, or 13 days away. So it is coming up fast. So jam your entries in if you're trying to take advantage of some overlay. Oh, Eric. Oh, you little sassy pants. That's honestly if he's playing then. Like they might go like, oh, Lowry Markkanen's been too good. We're gonna win too many games with them. Honestly, though, like I do think if Eric's numbers are correct here about the schedule and who's playing a lot, Lowry Markkanen is probably going to play every minute as long as possible because he sucks and doesn't win games. There's never been a game where it's like, oh yeah, Lowry Markkanen's the one who put us over the top. But they'll give him the chance. They'll give him the chance to grow. I just wish he rebounded or played defense, did anything. Instead just stands in the corner and shoots. Which, just basically makes you Maxi Kleber. That's not enough for me. All right, we got a 3-3-2. Let's put our money where our mouth is and take some Al Horford. Dinwiddie, not a bad pick either here. But I got the 3 guards. Like, is Dinwiddie really going to make it over LaMelo, Booker, McCollum a lot? I don't think so. Particularly saying, I feel like the sharp projections are funneling users of those projections to the same players because ADP is so different. Pirtle and Mikal Bridges are ranked rounds differently on projection compared to ADP. Okay. I think that's a fair observation. I think overall there just isn't as much TLC kind of given to the best ball industry for NBA. Like, honestly, look, Underdog doesn't need me to give them advice. They're fucking doing really well for themselves as is. What I would have done if I were them is I would have made like a puppy kind of equivalent for NBA and made it like $5 and did the best you could to have a huge prize pool and then shill the shit out of it. But I think they prioritize the battle royale stuff more, in terms of a business strategy. So, but I think they could have made NBA and maybe still can next year, could make NBA best ball a bigger industry. They just I don't think strategically thought it made sense. That's the dream, though. Spags being 7 feet tall, getting paid millions to chuck threes. I guess, but when I see guys that are that big, and again, I say this is somebody that really wishes I dedicated myself. I'm 6'1". I could have made the league barring a fucking million probabilities. But I was a very good shooter, and I was just yeah, I can shoot. That's enough. It's I never learned to really go left, never really worked on my dribble meaningfully. And if I had really cared enough about oh, cool, pairing these other skills together, I could have been something useful. So if Lowry Markkanen were yeah, you know what? I'm going to go in the lab and try to learn how to bring the ball up court and assist. Maybe his coach won't want him to do that, but he could do more and he could be capable of more. And if you're 7 foot tall as well, you gotta rebound. You gotta be able to get in there and box dudes out and fucking get after it. And he'll get some blocks here and there, but he's not going inside ever. That's where your strength is a big. Yeah, it's nice that you can stretch the floor and whatever, but him being able to get inside and bang just a little bit, just enough to keep him honest, and then be able to fan back out and hit a 3. That's the kind of play that to me, he would be a difference maker for their team. And now it's yeah, he's a Jazz player where he's young enough that they're maybe he'll be good and part of a functional group. He sucked in Cleveland last. He wasn't good, and Kevin Love was actively better than him in every possible metric. So I just think it bums me out when you have this one God-given gift, and it's you don't get the max out of it. Luka's not going to be 7 feet, so he's going to have to be pure scrap. Could be a quarterback though, so we'll see. If I'm willing to let him have brain trauma, he can be a quarterback. Jalen Suggs, not a bad value here. PJ Washington, not a terrible wing play. I am a little bit soft at wing. Let's see. Suggs or Washington? Tough call. I don't think Josh Hart's in play for me here. He's going to be back to his fucking nothing role. PJ Washington, more depth at wing. Seems more valuable. Because like, is Suggs going to play that often over LaMelo, Booker, and McCollum when he's got to compete with Cole Anthony and Fultz for touches? I don't think so. But again, like much like football, though, you do probably want to take the guy who is a younger guy who can grow into his role more. I just don't think Suggs did not show a lot last year. Like Suggs was really actively bad at getting his own shot. Wiseman going in the 10th. Huh. Wiseman's one of those dudes that I thought was going to be good coming in. And oh boy, did he prove me wrong. You want him to prove you wrong the other way, normally, not the way where it's like, this guy's going to be a beast. He's so good in Memphis. And then now it's like, nah, never mind. Never mind. Guess we got to overlook that 2-game college sample size, huh? He needs Draymond to go. Wiseman does to like even have a shot to like see the court. Like, I don't think Wiseman will play a single crunch time for them. Of course, come back tomorrow as well because I'll be doing the stream, I guess, at the normal splash play time at 2:30 tomorrow. Though honestly, I don't know. I might experiment with moving the time around just to try to make sure. I got to see when the most of you guys are online. DeAndre Hunter, does he take a leap forward this year? Murray being there. I like Jayshawn Tate, but I think Jabari Smith is going to cut into his time a little bit. Hunter should have more run with no Herter, I think. I'll take Hunter. All right, 3-5-3, star talent at guard, decent talent at big. We're going for depth at wing. Okay, I think this build makes sense. Got LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Klay Thompson, OG Anunoby, PJ Washington, DeAndre Hunter. And then at big, we got Bam Adebayo, Jakob Poeltl, Al Horford. Not a sexy team. Like, this is definitely not a team where you're like, oh yeah, like, ooh, you really got great values. All these guys are looking good. But still, I think of a functional team here that's giving me a chance for upside at wing. And if PJ Washington figures it out, like he does lose Bridges this year, I guess there's going to be more competition for center minutes. Who did they draft? The Hornets drafted Nick Richards was the guy they got last year. 2022 NBA draft. They drafted another big, though. I think it's going to compete for minutes. Mark Williams, that's it. Mark Williams, Sports Reference. Let's see. Apparently, I've searched this before. Apparently, I've had a curiosity about Mark Williams in the past. Mark Williams, 17.5% rebound rate, 7% assist rate, 19% usage rate. So he's just kind of a body. Is that correct? Eric, would you say that Mark Williams is kind of a guy? I feel like these numbers lead me to believe he's just kind of a guy. I feel like the Hornets always have those like centers that are just like, oh, Vernon Carey. Like, like what? Like you're not good enough. Like you barely should be in the league. Like they're a team that needs like a Nick Claxton or somebody. Something that could actually be out there. Oh, there's whole Mark Williams back in my life. Mo Bamba, I think, is coming off the bench this year. Dorian Finney-Smith. This is an ugly situation. Honestly, Drummond kind of makes sense here, I think. If Vucevic goes out, we know Drummond can play and get some minutes. I don't know why the Bulls signed Drummond, but I'll take him. I'll take him here for my fourth big. Okay, there we go. I'm glad. I do think, for the most part, I will say for anybody out there that is like trying to start to wrap your head around NBA and really like hopefully make some improvements, just look at usage, rebound rate, and assist rate, and then add in true shooting if you want. Fantasy points per minute are also important. But I would say those 5 things, let's say. So usage rate, rebound rate, assist rate, true shooting, and then their fantasy points per minute. And then like you can really start to pinpoint who's a good player. Like I've honestly thought in the past about like, it doesn't make sense for me to do it because like it's not going to matter to my career or even my playing portfolio and the money I spent on NBA. But like I think you can make a very good player prediction tool. And actually, my old pal Josh over at Stochastic might have done that too at some point. I think you make a pretty good player projection tool or projection/prediction tool just off of those core metrics, and then maybe also include something on draft capital. Because like if guys get buckets, and get stats, they do it at every level. It's just like kind of on a sliding scale. But then if you pair that with the true shooting and you pair that with like the efficiency stats, you do get a read of like, oh, this guy gets buckets and also he's efficient with getting buckets. So in the pros, he's going to be efficient getting buckets. And then he's also contributing these other stats. Like, I think NBA is the one sport where you could build a team off of just fantasy points per minute in real life. And if it kind of works together and makes basketball sense, where it's not just a bunch of ball dominant guys, you actually could, I think, build like a winning NBA team looking just largely at the core stats and fantasy points per minute. Because like if guys are producing fantasy points, they're doing shit on the court. Like that's like the main thing is like fantasy is not real life, but in basketball, fantasy is probably closer to real life than anything. I guess maybe besides baseball, because obviously hits and whatever strikeouts going to be always the most germane there. And I probably will hit a couple more. We'll hit a few more NBA best ball drafts in the next 2 weeks here, just because I gotta support our friends over at Underdog when they ask me to do something. So I will do that. So keep your eyes peeled here. Maybe around this time, might do some surprise ones. Just depends how the baby and life schedule looks. We could use a guard here. Will Barton does a little bit of everything. Don't mind that. He's gonna play. Now a Washington Wizard, of course, he and Monty Morris got traded. What was the other side of that trade, actually, for the Wizards? I think they didn't get anything good from that, right? Oh, they got KCP. That's right. KCP and Ish Smith went to Denver. KCP will be out there. KCP actually he's the kind of guy that I think makes sense for this build, actually. Because like he's not very often going to play over LaMelo, Booker, McCollum, but he's likely to play, 25 minutes a game to 35 minutes a game. And every night that, Murray gets guarded heavily and Porter, the issue is like the star talent there is so heavy with Jokic, Porter, and Murray. But you could see nights that KCP, I think, could make a best ball, or weeks that KCP could make a best ball lineup. All right, Corbin, you'll get me one of these days, my friend. Don't worry, you'll get my sweet EV coming up over the next few weeks. I honestly got to start doing some drafts on my own time because I still have enough money in my account to justify it. I just wish there were a bigger prize pool. Like I wish it were 6 figures for the double dribble. It's hard for me to justify a $25 entry fee for 50K up top. But at this point with the overlay, like it does make economic sense, I think. But yeah, I think that overall, like it would have been nice to see bigger prize pools for NBA because I think there would have been more people enthusiastic about it. I think there is like a weird threshold for people to mentally be like, yes, I'm into this now. And for NBA, like if it had been 100K up top, I think that's probably closer to it. Always, Corbin, always. When anybody who gives me a line to do a silly accent on the streams, just to get through, we gotta fill an hour 40 minutes to an NBA best ball live on the stream. You gotta hop in and get some accents as well. As if that's the way people say that. All right. We got enough bigs now. We need more guards. Let's go with the mystery box of Jalen Williams, who really didn't seem to do a whole lot, for being honest. But let me pull up his numbers once again. At Santa Clara last year, 23% assist rate, 25% usage rate, true shooting of 60%. All right, he hits the threshold. Jalen Williams, our new crush, our new man crush on OKC. Jalen Williams. Because Ty Jerome got traded, actually, right? Ty Jerome got traded this week, I think. He was part of one of their salary dumps. Oh, Ty Jerome is a Warrior now. That's interesting. He's gonna have Ty Jerome is gonna have some DFS days this year. Playing on the Warriors, like if Steph is sitting, or the nights where they just rest everybody, like Ty Jerome is a box score filler. Maybe an 18th round or a 16th round Ty Jerome here to close this out. Could be it. Oh man. Ooh, the Mets. My friend got tickets to the Mets playoff game. That's exciting. Mets are going to lose, right? I think that's how it's going to go. They really fucking blew that lead in the division. And that's the extent of my Mets knowledge. Boy, they really let everybody down, huh? Go Mets. Jeremy Sochan is an interesting play here. I like that pick. Just because of what we talked about, San Antonio needs somebody to do anything. I don't think Sochan is the most productive, though. At least wasn't in college. Let's see. Sochan, 12% assist rate, 20% usage, 15% rebound. Not great. All right, we're on the clock. I'll take the TJ Warren. Take a shot here. Maybe Kevin Durant finds his way out of town. Maybe it's one of those seasons from hell for the Nets. I will say one guy that I don't even know what his ADP is, but I'm actually going to find out now. I think Ben Simmons is a very nice draft pick at a 46 ADP. Like, they're going to use him right, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to berate him if he's not doing what he's supposed to do. But Ben Simmons, I would have the utmost comfort taking Ben Simmons in this future and anything this year. I think this is honestly his chance. Like, this has Ben Simmons' chance to be the full version of what he should be. Because there's no pressure on him to get buckets, no pressure on him to shoot, no pressure on him to like be the man. He's just got to play good defense, and he's got to create for Kyrie and Durant and Seth, like, and Joe Harris if he's still on the team and is out there actually playing. Simmons should be the best version of himself. He's just probably not going to have as much night-to-night fantasy upside because he's not going to have to do as much. I might take Ty Jerome to close it out here. Because honestly, in NFL, some of like Mac Hollins in the 18th round, shit like that. Of course, Geno Smith. Everybody wants me to talk about Geno Smith. I'm getting tagged when Underdog talks about the Drew Lock and Geno Smith lineups. The 18th round or the 16th round in NBA like can be valuable if you are able to kind of follow the bottom of the depth chart movements. And Ty Jerome, replacing Mac McClung on the roster, and like that Jerome can get out there and be productive for a team that needs people to play well. Like, I think that's solid. Oh, Brent was all right. Brent, what's your team name here? You got Jamal Murray. Let's find out. Jamal. All right, so this is Brent's team. Wounded Geese. He's got Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Evan Mobley. No, interesting. Two bigs early. I like that. Jamal Murray, Tyrese Maxey. Murray does kind of feel like a nice value at this point. Going ahead of Russ or going next to Russ, that's a nice value. Jaden Ivey. I like Maxey, though. I think Maxey is a better pick at ADP relative to Harden. Not a bad team. Honestly, not a bad team. Good mix of youth as well. I think you did a good job, Brent. Good job by you. All right. We got to take one more guard here, I think, though. Could justify taking one more wing. Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is productive. I'm going to take Derrick Rose. It's going to be tougher to get minutes with also having what's his name? Jalen Brunson in the mix, as well as Quickly still there. You probably should play Quickly more, but Derrick Rose, we all know, like, if anybody here can like supplant one of the big three that I have of Ball, Booker, McCollum, like Derrick Rose is probably a guy that can give you that upside at least once or twice here and there. So my final team, and then we'll close it out. LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, CJ McCollum, Will Barton, Jalen Williams, Derrick Rose at guard, Chris Middleton, Klay Thompson, OG Anunoby, PJ Washington, DeAndre Hunter, TJ Warren at forward. We need Middleton to be healthy in this one. Bam Adebayo, Jakob Poeltl or Jakob Poeltl, Al Horford, Andre Drummond. Maybe didn't need the fourth center in this one and could use another wing, but there you go. That's how we do it in NBA best ball, guys. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out. Make sure, of course, that you are liking and subscribed to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, Thursdays moving forward, I will do some showdown stuff, but I'm also going to take you guys through my NFL data sheet that I showed you last week. All the numbers have been updated, so please come back around this time tomorrow on the channel to do that. And of course, Friday at 10 a.m., me and Pete back together doing our usual ride or die picks, which have been going shockingly well this year, even if our DFS winnings have not. So please come back for that one as well. But thank you all for hanging out, really. Obviously, doing NBA on here is not the first thing always. This is always going to be a fantasy football show first and foremost, but I love the NBA, and honestly, for work, I have no fucking pull to make me do NBA anywhere else. So I will do it here on this channel. But thank you guys for coming to join me, and I will hit the outro now. Follow me at Chris Spags, follow at Splash Play Pod, and of course, subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. And I'll be back with you guys tomorrow, back in the NFL streets. So please come back then, and I'll see you guys soon. Good luck. Bye.